Hello, today I'm here with Bracca Build's Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker lightsaber set, and today we're going to go over how to construct the Darth Vader lightsaber kit if you purchase that separately. You can purchase this dual saber set on our eBay page, along with the individual sabers themselves on our eBay page, and even the disassembled kits that you can paint yourselves on our Etsy store. So let's talk about all the pieces that will come in your kit. You've got the T-grips for the bottom half. You have all of the main pieces, including the cores that go in the middle of the saber, and all of your various greebles, like the bubble strip and knobs and buttons that add detail. There's two other things you're going to need for this building process. One is sandpaper. I'm going to use 100 grit sandpaper just to rough up some of the edges and allow the glue to stick better. I'm mainly going to use super glue, but these T-grips can be a little funky, and honestly, I prefer to use a bit of hot glue just to make sure those stay on better. So the first thing we're going to do is jump into which pieces you need to sand before you start the assembly process. We're going to sand the bottom of each T-grip face. The grips are the most tedious part, but all of the greebles you don't really have to worry too much about sanding. The cores, just sand every side. The end cap threads on, so that's just fine. I apologize, I should have turned on the lights earlier. This speaker hole, you will sand this inner edge here, not the top detail, but that sometimes helps allow this to stay in there. Unless, again, you just use hot glue, and maybe that'll stick in easier. For the lower grip, the only thing I would suggest sanding is this top face and maybe the edges of this octagon face, because we're probably going to apply the glue there and a tiny bit on the edges here. You don't want to apply too much. Here's a good example. This is the Vader saber that I had on display. From far away, it looks pretty good. Up close, I put way too much super glue on the grips, and you can see all those white lines and whatnot, and a little bit up at the top here too. So use as little super glue as possible and maybe a tiny bit of hot glue if you really need to. We're gonna sand both faces on the top, along with, as I said before, those octagon faces on the inside. Bottom face here, sand these gently if you can. If it messes this up, you don't gotta worry about it. The thing I'd sand is a little bit on the inside of this here. Now you don't wanna snap this off, so be careful, but it is helpful to put a tiny bit of glue on here at the end so that this piece doesn't flap out too much. And besides basically lightly sanding all the bottom faces of any buttons or greebles you're gonna glue in, we're all set. We're gonna cut to a quick time lapse of me sanding it, and then we're gonna glue it together.
Hey, so the rest of this video, at least the instructions, will probably be done with voiceover over the previous footage, because I tend to not get to the point when it comes to the assembly. So let's get into it. So starting for the bottom of the saber, we have the end cap. Now I used hot glue to glue this black piece in the inside, just because it was a little thinner than other pieces, and it just is quicker and easier to use hot glue. But all of these pieces can be glued together with super glue if you choose to do so. I put some super glue on those threads as well, just a little bit so that it doesn't pop out later on if you don't want it to be unscrewed. Next we move on to the T-grips. Now I put 2 little dabs of super glue on the top and bottom insides of this, and then line that middle groove with hot glue. Again, you can do it with super glue, but I just found the hot glue to be easier and sturdier over time, in my opinion. So once you put that on, squeeze it on there tightly, hold for about 30 seconds just so it doesn't pop out, and really let that hot glue take a hold of it. And then you just do it for the rest of them. And once you've done that, you'll be left with a nicely finished lower grip section of the saber. Let's move on to the switch section now. All right, so for the lower grip, we're gonna have to first insert the inner core on the lower half, and then make sure to put the glue on the top face and those side faces if you want to. And then for aligning the middle piece, you wanna make sure that one of the T-grips is directly underneath that switch box. And we're not gonna worry about the greebles right now. We're just gonna go ahead and stick the upper peg in there as well. Make sure to put some glue in the hole for the peg, as well as a little on the other side of the switch box to then insert the upper rib into. Now we move on to the emitter section. Now for the lower emitter, we're gonna wanna put glue on the octagon faces up there if you wish to do so. Just be very light with this so the glue does not show afterwards. And then a tiny bit on the little, arm, whatever you wanna call it, sticking at the bottom. For correct alignment, you wanna put this facing opposite of the switch box. Once you glue that down for about 30 seconds, we're going to move on to the upper emitter, which again just consists of putting some glue on the bottom of that face and maybe on the octagons if you wish, and then stick that on there. And now we have the fully finished base of the saber. Now we're going to move on to the greebles, with the first being the inner black pegs that go on the inside of the upper grip that the wires also fit into. So there are 2 different types of these black pieces. There's ones that are hollow and ones that are not. The hollow ones go in the left and right side of the saber. The thicker vertical one with 2 holes goes on the leftmost side of the saber, and then the 2 non-hollow ones go directly in the middle. Now for the order of the actual wires and their color, starting from left to right, it goes red, brown, white, blue, white. The red all the way on the left side because it's the smallest wire that only fits in there, then brown and white, and then on the farthest right side, blue and white. You can pause the video, you can see the order more clearly if I'm not explaining it well enough. And these pieces are probably the trickiest to glue in properly. So for the red wire, just put 2 dabs of glue, a tiny bit of glue on the black piece, stick it in, and then a tiny bit of super glue in both holes and just stick the red wire, and that piece should be good to go. For the larger wires, I would put a little bit of glue on the edge of the inner hole, stick in the hollow piece, and then fill that hollow gap with more glue all the way through, and then stick both your wires in either at the same time or one after the other. The glue won't dry fast enough, so you do need to hold your fingers there and hold it in the position you want the wires to be in, whether that's fully pressed together or splayed apart a little bit, whatever look you're going for. But you definitely want to hold it there for a solid minute or two because it does take a while for the glue to dry for these pieces. And then for the rest of the pieces, as long as you look at some reference pictures either on the page here or in this video, it's kind of just free game to put in whatever pieces in whatever order you want. You have the bubble strip and the clamp and button on the switch box, and then you have the 3 buttons that go on the back of the emitter shroud, and those ones you just put in whichever orientation you find looks best, and that's really about it. The only other part after that is the emitter, inner emitter itself, which consists of 3 pieces. You have the small inner hexagon and you have the inner and outer rings. Now what I do here is just gently, with no glue, press the round part that has all the ridges in it into the other part. You can see it on screen now. Again, no glue there, and then also friction fit that into the actual emitter shroud. Just kind of gently push it down from all angles, slowly pushing your finger or a screwdriver or something around the edge until it just sits in there snug. And same thing for the hexagon piece. Maybe sand the edges if it doesn't fit in. Sometimes it prints a little wide and doesn't fit in the hole, but it's a really easy fit if you just either sand it a little or just press it really hard with your finger or a screwdriver. And once you've done that, well, actually there is one more thing to do. The D-ring itself is a pretty loose D-ring compared to some of our other ones. You can put super glue in this, you cannot put super glue. I've found that it does kind of fall out if you don't put super glue, whatever look you're going for, but I would probably suggest, especially for display purposes, to just kind of fill that hole where the D-ring goes with super glue and then kind of bend it around the side of the emitter shroud and then just stick it in both sides, and again hold that there for about a minute or two so it doesn't move, and then I think for real you're actually good to go. I hope you found this video tutorial helpful and somewhat entertaining. I know it was a bit rushed and a bit janky, so if you do have any more questions, please feel free to leave a comment down below or reach out on our Etsy or eBay pages wherever you found this kit and purchased it. And yeah, again, you can go check out those places if you'd like to purchase one for yourself if you're just watching the video. And thank you again for watching, and hope you have a nice day.